With the sexy new 911 Dakar starting to be delivered to hopeful buyers, I think it would be a good time to take a deep dive into the car and figure out why I think it deserves the rally car crown. I'm back. It's been a minute, but I'm here. For those of you that don't know, I've been busy with work. I'm moved out. I'm getting into college and stuff, but it's enough about me. I'm just glad to be back. Let's get back into the video. So, I'll be honest with you guys, in my time away from here, I kinda went on a WRC bender. I've always loved rally racing and I've been watching WRC since I was but a wee lad. But for whatever reason lately, I've become obsessed with it. And to be honest, it's probably because of that new WRC game. This isn't sponsored or anything, I swear, but if you haven't, trust me when I say, get the new WRC game. It's like 100% worth it. It's awesome. Anyways, logically, after watching cars get flung around dirt roads like toys, I thought to myself, I want to do that. You know, I can easily flick a car into a corner going 90 miles an hour on a road that's like a foot wider than the car, no less. So after searching high and low on the interwebs, I came to the conclusion that even though I'm just oozing talent and I'm basically a pro rally driver because one time I ripped the handbrake in an empty parking lot, I'll never be able to show the world because up until recently, there wasn't really any factory-built rally cars. Now, let me stop you. I can hear you furiously typing from here, you little bastard. I'm aware of the Evo and the WRX STIs. However, I want you to honestly think about those for a second. Are the Evo or STI truly road legal rally cars? They have super advanced off-road systems, no doubt, and they have older siblings that were on crack that raced in the WRC, but they have road-going suspension systems. And if you know anything about rally racing at literally any level, your suspension is probably one of the, if not the most important pieces of tech on your car. Anyways, backing up a little bit, I said before that up until recently, there wasn't anything because two contenders have broken into the space and they aren't really who you'd expect them to be. Porsche isn't really the first name you think of when you think road legal rally cars, especially the 911. Track Beast? No doubt. Overglorified Volkswagen Beetle? If you ask me, yeah, definitely. Overpriced as all hell at every level? 100% no doubt. However, they have broke into the rally game. They unveiled the 911 Dakar in November of last year and people understandably went nuts. Not only is the 911 one of the most desirable supercars for sale, but Porsche has a rich history. Okay, maybe not that far back in history, but Porsche has a rich rally history with the 911 dating all the way back to the 70s with the world-famous Safari 911s. These were designed to take on what is arguably the most grueling rally in the world, the Kenyan Safari Rally, which, by the way, just gotta say it, it's on the WRC calendar right now and it's awesome to watch. Anyways though, they have a very rich history in rally, although they haven't competed as a manufacturer in any rally championships in decades, unfortunately. This has driven a massive aftermarket support system for classic 911s to be turned into rally beasts. Familiar faces like the Stradman and Ken Block were former owners of some pretty sexy 911s. But what makes this thing tick? What makes this 911 different from the rest? There are multiple things that make this 911 different, and it's not like most other trim levels for the 911, where there's like one or two minor differences and they call it a new limited exclusive trim that has a custom mode that will rim your asshole every time you press the launch control button to enhance the experience. This 911 is actually super different, starting with, like I said before, the suspension. The 911 Dakar uses a recalibrated variant of Porsche's dynamic suspension system, which adds a 2-inch lift to the car from factory, but that's not all. A special button you can press will lift the car a further 1.2 inches, making a grand total of 3.2 inches of additional lift on the car suspension, helping you clear big rocks. But that isn't all. Bilstein, the same suspension company responsible for the likes of the Baja suspension on the TRX, is also responsible for the shock absorbers on the 911 Dakar, which really helps bring this thing's suspension to the next level to go max attack over the jumps and crests that you will be hitting 100%. So overall, the suspension on this thing is pretty stacked, but that's not even getting close to the end of it. This thing's beating heart is the same engine found in the Carrera 4 GTS, that being a twin-turbo flat-six, capable of around 475 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, which is certainly a handful for a road car, but if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, it's kind of insane. The current top-tier WRC Rally 1 cars have around 500 horsepower, but the cars rarely use all 500 horses because it's a hybrid system set up similar to F1, meaning the electric power is used as a boost for a few brief seconds. All that means that it's more than likely that this 911 road-going rally car produces more horsepower, more off often than the top tier of rally motorsport, which has got to make for an absolutely insane ride. The flat 6 is paired to an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, certainly a far cry from the WRC's straight cut sequential 5-speed transmissions, but definitely respectable in its own right. Definitely more than enough in terms of shifting speed, no doubt. Apart from that, the undercarriage has been reinforced and protected by skid plates to make sure you can really go full max attack ripping down your fire roads. In addition to all the goodies I mentioned above, believe it or not, it really does get better, as this thing uses so many cool parts from other top tier 911 models, like the fact that it borrows the carbon fiber hood from the GT3, the cooling system from the Turbo S, and the brakes from the Carrera S. The off-road goodies don't end there though. Astonishingly, you can option an off-road overland style roof rack, and there's interior options as well that can really help you make this thing rally ready. The 911 Dakar also gets 2 new drive modes, off-road and rally, and both are pretty self-explanatory. Off-road mode is designed for more slow speed technical obstacles, not that this thing is going to be making a trip to Grand Teton or the Rubicon Trail anytime soon, but still obviously it's nice to have. And rally mode, now that gets your suspension tuned for more high-speed off-road racing, and I'm sure it messes with other things like throttle and brake response times and much more things that are far too smart for me to understand. But all that stuff is completely useless if you can't get the power to the ground. Luckily for prospective buyers, this thing comes with probably the best off-road performance tires on the market. It comes standard with Pirelli Scorpion off-road racing tires, coincidentally the same tires that can be found on WRC cars, which is just nuts. All these things help drastically in the performance department, helping this thing scoot from 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. And this is one of the few cars where, in my opinion, 0 to 60 is actually as important as the manufacturer wants you to think it is. Everything I just listed off may make you think that on asphalt, this thing would be a dog. Now, obviously, before I go any further, this thing isn't going to be setting Nürburgring record lap times. Well, actually, maybe it will if you watch the video where this thing's like cutting corners and all that. It's just way too cool. Anyways, point is, for other cars at this price point, which we will touch on kind of in a second, it's not going to hold a candle to them on the asphalt. But that doesn't mean it isn't fast on asphalt. For whatever reason, you can option asphalt performance tires. Now, why you'd want to do that, I'm really not too sure, but Porsche assures us that this thing can perform on asphalt. And as much as I would like to not believe them, I'm somewhat inclined to, because frankly, a rear-engined all-wheel drive 475 horsepower 911 can only be so slow around a circuit. Now for the big question, why the hell would Porsche make this, well, let's be honest here, redneck 911? The common 911 buyer doesn't look at their $250,000 supercar and think, yeah, let's lift that bitch up and rip it up a mountain pass. So why did Porsche decide to do it? Well, like most things, I don't really think there is one singular answer. I mean, there's the obvious perk that it's made by Porsche, and at this point, I really honestly believe Porsche could put out a set of branded dildos and butt plugs, and Porsche fanboys would sell them out in seconds. Secondly, though, even if you are like myself and aren't really the biggest fan of Porsche, there's a little denying the fact that just how cool this is. Honestly, there hasn't been anything like this in a very long time. I'm talking decades. The last thing I could think of would be something like the Lancia Delta or other Group B homologation cars, because similar to them, this thing really is both batshit crazy and rally ready from the factory. And they know it's the coolest thing since someone thought of cocaine and shower beers, because you can option the legendary Rothmans Dakar Rally Raid livery from the factory. But I mean, obviously it's Porsche, so it isn't cheap. This paint job, will run you 30 grand, 30,000 goddamn dollars. I can go buy a decently used Ford Focus RS for 30 grand, and I guarantee I'll have more fun with that than a paint job. And it kind of leads me to the elephant in the room, the thing I've been purposely steering away from, the buying price. This 911 Dakar will start at roughly $220,000 before options and markups. However, after all those things, don't be shocked if these are hovering around the 300 grand mark, which is a bit much even for a Porsche. Certainly more than that Facebook Marketplace STI or Evil I was talking about before. In addition, even if it was cheaper, you still wouldn't be able to get your hands on one, as Porsche has announced it is limiting production to 2,500 units. And surprisingly, I know, they are incredibly tight-lipped about if they will be producing more. Although I honestly wouldn't be shocked, as this thing is basically a money printing factory for the company. Even better though, the only real competition for Porsche is the Huracan Sterrato by Lamborghini. And for those of you that don't remember and need a quick little refresher, Porsche literally owns Lamborghini. However though, kind of bad for Porsche, the Huracan has an MSRP of only $273,000. Keep in mind, it's only a little bit more than this Dakar. And with that, you get a screaming V10 and a lot more horsepower. Like 610 horsepower. And I may have barely passed high school, but that sure as hell seems like a lot more than 475. Anyways though, I really do like this car, and if money wasn't an object for me, I would probably scoop one up. And to be fair to Porsche, today's Rally 1 WRC cars will run you a cool, even $1 million just for the car. You still need a full team to handle the car between the bodywork, engine, hybrid system, etc. So on paper, this $220,000 isn't half bad when compared, but that's enough for me. What do you guys think? If you had the money, would you buy one, or would you go down a more traditional route and get a more road-focused supercar? I really am curious to know.